Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to replace the battery contactors inside your battery pack in a 2012 to 2014 Toyota Rav4 EV because the manufacturer won't do it for me. So I'm going to do it here in my driveway without a lift. Wish me luck. Here we go. Welcome back, guys. So yes, I am going to attempt to replace the contactors inside this pack by myself, even though I have a warranty. It's a long story, but if you don't know about the car, quickly, it's kind of a love child between Tesla and Toyota. It was required under California state regulations that they make this car. It's a really cool piece of history. I have always loved this car. I've owned many of them, and I've had actually really good luck with them. But in this case, it looks like this one is at a critical failure point, and I'm hoping it's just the contactors inside the battery pack. That's the code so far that we've seen. So I'm hoping by removing this battery pack, which is not going to be any easy chore, and replacing those contactors, that it'll solve my problems. Now this is going to kind of suck to do without a lift, but I've done it before. I did it on my parts car. I use these exact same 4x6s to get it out of there. I just never actually put one back in the car. I'm pretty sure I can. But it's going to be some work, and this is probably going to be a pretty long video. But if you want to know how to get this battery pack out and replace these contactors, this is the video for you. You came to the right place. All right, here's where I'm positioning my front jacks. And that is the location that you can lift at. So I use the floor jack to lift the whole front end. And then I just put these in place. I haven't let that down quite yet. Just wanted to line these up first. And this is what it looks like underneath my parts vehicle. I have the jack stands in the same location. And you can see the part that I was jacking at is this big beam right there. It is just pretty much right underneath the rack and pinion. Yeah, so that's what you're jacking. That'll save you time from removing the whole plastic panel, and you know you're gonna break clips. So yeah, that'll make it easier for you. All right, this really isn't ideal because I have these up on bricks, but I have to get this high enough that it's level with the front and high enough for me to actually get under. So I have a couple brand new bricks. There's no wear on these, and I positioned the jack right over the solid part of the block. I used my floor jack right there in the middle to lift up the whole rear end, and I have both of these jacks here in place. They seem really solid, but of course this isn't ideal and not OSHA approved. But when you don't have a garage or access to a real lift, this is what I gotta do. So now I'm gonna walk around, get my frame slid underneath this vehicle, and start working on unbolting and disconnecting the battery. All right, so I've got my frame slid into place, and this is just basically going to hold the battery pack and enable me to slide it out that way so I can work on it and then slide it back directly in this way. When I did this before, I did it up there, which you can see the parts car, and I did it on stone. I use these same beams, but I had to get another car to tow the battery pack once it was on this wood because it was so heavy. I really thought I could just kind of like inch it and slide it out, but I had a difficult time even sliding it once it was on this piece of wood. This time I have my tractor, so I can position the tractor on the other side, and as you'll see, I'll pull the battery pack that way, and then once it's all repaired, I will put a chain down this side and pull it this way. So yeah, that's my frame. It is two 4x6s, and then I have two 2x4s underneath just to give it a little bit more clearance so I can get the floor jack underneath the battery, which will make more sense in a minute. Yeah, so there we go. So I now have the floor jacks here to support the weight of the battery. It is still bolted in, so they're not really supporting any weight yet. I'm just jacked them up to the point where I get a little resistance because you don't want to lift the car up off the jack stands on the battery. So I just have them in place till I felt a little resistance. Now they'll catch the battery as I unbolt all of these. And I've got a few. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on each side. And I believe there's 2 in the back, and I think 4 in the front, and they're all 17mm, I believe. But before I can start unbolting everything, I have to take care of the connections to the battery pack. So this is one of the coolant lines. My plan is to use some needle nose vice grips, and I'll clamp this off so I try not to lose too much coolant. And then these are 10mm, I believe. So I'll take those out. Sometimes getting these wires through is a pain in the butt. So that might take some work. I already disconnected the 12-volt battery when I started, but I'm also going to remove the safety plug, which is under the passenger seat inside the vehicle. So there will be no power here whatsoever, but those are just the safety things you want to do to make sure that there's no power there. Because it is possible that one of these contactors inside this battery pack, or both, could be stuck closed. And if it's stuck closed and the car is on, you are gonna have a bad day. I don't think either of my contactors are stuck closed, but either way, I'm not taking any chances. Safety plugs coming out, 12-volt batteries disconnected. Okay, cover is off. I tested for power and there is none. I've got that side clamped off. I've got this side clamped off. I tried to do it very carefully because this does look a little dry rotted, but it'll have to do. Next is going to be getting those wires out. Oh, I had to get the jack out of the way because I was a little too early putting that in here. Next is to disconnect this and to drain the fluid. I've got a bucket right here ready. Also, I wanted to add that your car will have a plastic panel here, similar to the front that's over here. I took mine off a while ago because I had the didnt fast charger on here that I had removed. And when that company installs the panel, they cut out a square right here because they have a spacer that goes in here, and that's how they access this junction box for the didnt fast charger. But I didn't want the manufacturer to see that that company had installed the product and try to void my warranty. So I removed the panel before I took it into service and just left it off. In the end, it didn't really matter because service on this vehicle is very difficult and they didn't want to help me anyway. But anyways, yeah, so you will have a panel here that you will have to remove in order to access all these connections and coolant lines and stuff. Well, I actually just noticed an issue. I have a tiny hole right here in this. If I move this, you can see it dripping. So hopefully I still have this piece and I can replace this one piece right here. Man, I don't know if I still have it. I feel like I might have used that for one of my projects, but I'll have to check my parts bin for my parts car. But yeah, that sucks. It looks like this plastic stuff has just been pinched into the rubber piece here. So wow, I'm gonna have to fix that leak. Yes, luckily I still had this part for my parts car because finding hose is a pain in the butt. I kept all this stuff around just in case, and thankfully I kept this one. And if you ever need to work on hoses like this, I highly suggest you get this tool. I'll have a link to it below. I've had this around since I started the first T-Rex, but yeah, this thing is so nice. It just goes right in here and gently pries off the heater hose. It's very, very difficult to do without damaging the hose without this tool. So if you don't have one, there'll be a link below. You can definitely pick up one of these because you're gonna need it. Okay, now this side is off. The other side is still dripping. I only had one good bucket, unfortunately. So I'm gonna lose a little bit over there. But what I'm gonna do is use coffee filters and actually filter this because there is gonna be some sediment in there. But this stuff is kind of hard to get, and I don't think I'm gonna lose a lot, so hopefully I won't need a lot. But yeah, I'm gonna use coffee filters to filter this and reuse it. So I'll let this drain for a bit, and then once it slows down a little bit more, I'll get in there and work on the electrical connections. Well, major roadblock. I've been at this for a couple hours now. I cannot get those wires out of this junction box right here. The corrosion, I think it's probably a different kind of metal, and they are in there solid. I've been banging at them from the inside and outside, trying to get them out, and these suckers are not budging, not even a little bit. This really sucks. I'm wasting a lot of time because I thought I was going to actually have the battery down and out by now, but I'm not even close. So this is bad, but I think I might get my grinder and just put a line kind of where that plus symbol is right there, and just use my grinder to cut a line to relieve some pressure and get some more WD-40 in there. This thing is caked in WD-40 and it's still not moving. But I think if I put a line in there with a grinder, maybe it'll have some more give and I can get it out. Really sucks. That's insane. I have this all cut down. I can see the rubber grommet of the piece that slides in there. That's what that black thing is. And I'm banging on this thing and it will not come out. I mean, this piece here is only like 3/4, maybe an inch of long. So in this little area, it is being held in place and it is not moving at all. That sucks. All right, now I'm working on the high power side. I needed a break from this side. Got absolutely nothing done. Now I'm working on this side because I needed a change. You can see I used my cutting wheel, created a V, and this son of a bitch still won't come out. I've been hammering on it. I started breaking the aluminum here. I'm at a complete loss of words. This is just ridiculous. Beginning to lose faith that I will be able to get this done. 2 hours later, I finally got one. You can see how corroded it is. Just there's metal flakings. It's like it has a chrome finish that is flaking off. And you can see all this crap. Because I didn't even cut on the back side, but yet you can see how much corrosion is on there. So this part that I'm touching right now was exposed to the elements, but it was under a plastic panel for 4 years. And you can see it's all flaked off. And then under here, you can still see the chrome or whatever that is. I guess it's just aluminum, and maybe this aluminum is corroded. I don't know metals all that well, but it looks like this aluminum is not corroded, but this is. And holy freaking cow. Can't believe I finally got one of them out. Now to cut this one and try to bang that one out, and I still don't know about those. I've spent a lot of time on those. I got the second one out. Even with cutting those huge V notches, I still had to beat the shit out of these to get them out. All right, so finally got those two. Now I still have to get these two fuckers. Finally, I just got those two out. Pretty beat up, but that's what I had to do to get them out. See all that corrosion? All right, so those are out. Now it's time to drop the battery pack. Well, it's been a long day, but finally I'm to the point where the battery can come out. Hopefully you can hear me over the air compressor. I just used my impact gun to get all the screws out for the battery. I have it supported in the front and the back with floor jacks. And now I'm just going to slowly and gently go back and forth and lower the battery until it's on this wood here. All right, the last connection to remove to get the battery out is the front data cable. It's on the front top middle of the battery pack. So I'll try to go under the front of the car in there to get it. Also, if you do this method, which I don't recommend you do, but if you do this, you are going to have to remove the rear tire, just because how far the battery pack comes, it's going to hit the tire. So you'll have to remove that in order to slide it out. Well, finally, there it is. It's very dirty, and I can already see a lot of the screws are rusty. So that'll be the next battle, is how many of these bolts am I going to have to drill out. I had to drill out 2 on the last battery pack that I took out, and it was a pain in the butt because these bolts are hardened. They're very strong, very hard to drill. So next is to open this thing up and get to the inside. First, I'll start with the cap here, and these are 5.5 millimeter bolts. Actually, before I open this up, I'm going to get the air hose and like blow it off a little bit. There's actually stones up here on top of the battery pack and a bunch of this junk right up in here. Well, it is time to cut the warranty seal, well, one of them anyway. There goes one, there's another, and there's one more in back. Bye-bye warranty. Alright, so I just lifted the cover off. They have this butyl sealing all the way around, so I'm just ripping it off. You'll have to just reseal whatever caulk or silicone that you prefer when you put this all back together. Now there's a 10 millimeter bolt right there, and you unplug the harness here, and the contactors are right there, but you can't get to them. They didn't make any access point to them. Losing sunlight, unfortunately, but here is the BMS. Oh, got a little piece of butyl Still there. And so I just removed the 10mm there, and there is a hex or Torx T20 that you got to remove right there. Then I'll get to that. All right, so now I got this off. I've never was really quite sure what it is. It's some kind of like dehumidifier. Got a little motor or some kind of pump in there, and it has, it sounds like those little silica beads you get in some packages from China, stuff like that. And this looks like a check valve, a one-way check valve. So that's what I've always assumed it was. I'm not sure. And I don't want to take it apart because I don't want all those beads to come out everywhere. All right, I figured it couldn't hurt. I sprayed some WD-40 on all these bolts. I hope that helps. I really hope I don't have to do any drilling, but I'll let that sit for a little while. I'll work on getting the safety plug thing unscrewed, and I'll let that sit for a little while. So for this, there are 4 outer T25 bolts, and then there are 4 inner T25 bolts. This is screwed to the lid, so that's why you have to remove that as well. So now it's loose, and if or when we hopefully get this lid off, that'll stay with the battery. Hey, I put a notch in it and it comes out. That's nice. That's the best news I've had all day. Now it's time to remove this cover. Well, they're not burnt or anything. I thought they would look discolored, and they don't. Everything else looks fine. Well, neither one of them are stuck closed. Well, I've got the new contactors in place. It's really not too hard. I didn't film it because I didn't feel like setting up the camera, honestly. So here it is. Unfortunately, I have a couple jumpers here because these wires out of the contactors weren't long enough to reach the wires going into the BMS. I really like these connectors just because you know there's a connection because you twist them together and then you crimp these together. With butt connectors, you could have one end or the other fail and you wouldn't know it. So I just use those. And here are the contactors I put in. There were just some that I had laying around. I hope they work, but I'm not sure if any of this is gonna work, honestly, because these are the contactors that came out and they look perfectly fine. I mean, I expected them to be brown, charred. I thought they'd look a little black or something from overheating, and they look perfectly fine. So I have no idea if this is gonna work at all. Oh, and I also gave these power and they still worked fine. So I don't know. I think there's probably a 25% chance that I get this all back together and it works. I don't know. I'm starting to lose sunlight and it's getting a little cooler, but I'm hoping to button this all up and get the lid back on tonight before I have to quit. We'll see. So finally my stuff showed up. I was just waiting for these little bolts right here to come from Amazon. It's like 3 o'clock, so I'm losing daylight, unfortunately. But I have to get this top on, like right now. For the sealant, I'm just using some roof construction sealant. It has a lot of characteristics of the butyl caulk stuff, so it should be fine. So yeah, I'm gonna try to get this on and get as far as I can before I have to leave and go pick up Caleb. All right, I've got the perimeter all sealed and it's all tightened down. So now I'm going to work on the rest of this stuff and hopefully get as much done as I can before I have to go pick up Caleb. All right, so this is almost all the way on. And again, I'm just starting the screws, getting them halfway in or so, and then I'll go back around and I'll tighten them. I didn't put any silicone or glue or anything on this one because it was already still kind of there. And also it sits so high underneath the vehicle that I really don't think it's ever gonna get wet up there. This corner is up a little bit, so I am gonna squirt a little bit in here. I should have hammered that straight first, but then I'll tighten that down. All right, so that's done. Now for these other pieces, the 8 around that, and I think the 8 or 6 around that one. And those have rubber gaskets, so you don't need any silicone on those. All right, and that's it. It's all sealed. Make sure you do have a couple T25 Torx bits because you will go through them. I broke a couple this time and I broke a couple last time. Make sure you have a few of those on hand to save you a last-minute trip to the hardware store. But that's it. Time to put some tools away, get some stuff out of the way, and shove it under the car. But first, I gotta go get Caleb. All right, I picked up Caleb. He's over there hanging out on the trailer. We got some chains on this, and I'm gonna try to pull it through and start getting it lined up so I can get it bolted up. Hey, buddy. Good morning. It is day 3 and I am making a little bit of progress with this. I hope I'm going to be okay, but I have the new contactors in. I finally got TechSoft connected, so I was able to clear the ABS code and the power steering code. So those are gone, thankfully. I reused the fluid that I filtered earlier, but I had to add a little bit more. So the reservoir is topped up. That should be good. The system didn't get airlocked, which is nice. It took a couple times turning the car on and off, but it ended up taking all the fluid and then I just added a little bit more. I was just inside the vehicle and the car does go into drive, which it always did before, and the wheels are actually turning. So I'm gonna button everything up. I just have to put that cover on the junction box underneath here. I'm gonna button it all up, take it off the jack stands, and I kind of think it might drive. What was weird is that at 6 miles an hour, the traction control light would come on and limit power, and that might just be because the wheels were free spinning here. I'm hoping that's the case, but I'll know more once I get it down and try to take it for a little drive. So crossing my fingers. All right, it's on the ground. Moment of truth. Let's see if it moves.
Many months later.
Well, I won't spend too much time on this because after a 30+ minute video, whatever I get this down to, not a lot of you guys are probably actually watching anymore, but I actually filmed all of that back in November of 2020. It was just before the winter weather rolled in, so I didn't have a whole lot of time. Now it is March 20th, so winter hopefully is winding down, but the car never got up and running again, unfortunately. I absolutely loved that car. A lot of my channel was built on that Rav4 EV platform and just unfortunately could never get it running again. Don't know what it was. Toyota corporate was zero help. I talked to them for hours and then eventually they just stopped returning my phone calls. I had a warranty on this car and they just completely said bye. Well, actually, they didn't even say bye. They just stopped returning my phone calls. So that was very, very frustrating. I was pretty much at the end. There's nothing I could do about the car. Nothing, I could not get it up and running. The local Toyota dealer here in Ithaca, Maguire Toyota, they're not certified to work on the car, and they don't have any trained techs to work on the car. So they did what they can initially, and then they just said, no, there's nothing more we can do for you on this car. So I was totally screwed. So buyer beware. If you ever buy one of these cars, man, it's going to last you maybe 5-6 years until it's dead. And if you need anything, you're not getting parts from Toyota. You're not getting parts from Tesla. You're never getting the software to modify it or fix it yourself. And I've even had viewers of my channel contact me from California asking me for parts because they can't get anything for their car in California. So unfortunately, it's just a car that's going to go in the history books as a really cool car, as an example of what could have been. But screw Toyota, man. They did not want to make this car, and they made it known. But in the end, I am still happy. Maguire Toyota here in Ithaca, New York, really bailed me out. I know I had some issues with them before in the trailer hitch. Oh yeah, those two guys got fired for stealing the trailer hitch, by the way. But in the end, they really stepped up and helped me out. There wasn't much I could do with the car anymore. Couldn't fix it, so I gave it to them to put up to auction. And you can see now it is gone. I am so happy that it's gone. I don't have to deal with it anymore. It sold for $4,700. After the auction fees, I got $4,500 from them. So I'm very happy. I really wish I had a better outcome. I really wish it was still driving. I wish we still had it. It was a $50,000 RAV4 and I loved it, but it's just too risky. I mean, you can't really own them, unfortunately. So that's where I'm at right now. The car is gone. I've got cash in my bank, and I'm just very thankful to Maguire of Ithaca, who did the right thing, stepped up, and put it to auction for me, and just made the best out of a situation that was overall pretty crappy. I wish the contactors worked when I replaced it, but I don't know. If you have one of these cars, I wish you the very best of luck, and I hope it stays running for you as long as possible. But at this point, I guess I'm out of the Rav4 EV business. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.